I have been absolutely dying to show you all these basses. This is the Serek Metropolis Alembic edition. Now the Metropolis is one of the first basses I designed actually. I just never felt like it quite fit in with the rest of our lineup. You can tell it's quite a different look. It's a little bit more modern, it's a little bit more pointy. It just doesn't have the same kind of vintage vibe that some of our other models do. And so I just struck it from the lineup early on. We've probably built about 4 or 5 of these over the years. Now lately I've been really pining for that Alembic sound, however my wallet can't justify it. So I figured, hey, maybe the Metropolis would be a good little experimental test bed. So I got in touch with Micah and Mary over at Alembic, and they have been wonderful to work with. We got some Activator pickups and some filter preamps from them, and I went ahead and built 3 of these Alembicized Metropolis basses. We have a 4-string medium scale, a 5-string medium scale, which hopefully you can see behind me here, and then a 4-string short scale, which I kept for myself. Those of you who are familiar with Alembic, these pickups need no introduction, no explanation, but I'm going to go ahead and just give you a short rundown of them anyway. So Alembic pickups are low impedance, but the magic really comes into play when you couple them with their preamps. This is a very simple setup. It's about as simple as you can get for an Alembic. We have a volume, we have a pan knob to select between the pickups, and we have the filter and then a gain switch here. So what makes an Alembic preamp different from others? The most common type of preamp you'll see will either boost or cut specific frequencies of the bandwidth. You'll get a bass control that'll boost something in the 100 to 300 range, maybe a mid-range control and a treble boost. Where this gets interesting is with the filter. It's basically just a low-pass filter, just like a tone knob. It lets the low frequencies through while you are slowly rolling off the high-end frequencies. And when there's no gain involved, that's exactly what this does. It's basically just a tone knob, nothing else. When you add the gain back into the circuit, you get 8 dB at the frequency that you were rolling off. So for example, I believe on Alembic's website they say that the filter, the low-pass filter, has a range between 6K and about 300. So if we're all the way up on the tone knob on this filter, we're at 6K, and now we're actually also adding 8 dB of boost right at 6K. And then as we roll this down, let's say we go down to like 3K, it's kind of hard to tell exactly where you are. Now you're rolling off everything above 3K, but you also still have that boost at 3K. So instead of it just looking kind of like a slope, you kind of have a little bit of a hill and then it plateaus again. And so how that ends up sounding is kind of like a wah pedal. You get that Q filter sweep thing, that wah wah wah, and I will show you what that sounds like. So don't be intimidated by these. Yes, they have, some more guts than our basses normally do, but it's actually a really simple setup and it's very useful. It's really cool to be able to kind of tune that mid-range character of the sound of your instrument. As far as the specs of these instruments, it is a bolt-on instrument. We have a mahogany core with a zebra wood top, one of my favorite woods to use. We went with Hipshot hardware, the ultralights and the 2-point in gold. Had to class it up a little bit. Ebony fingerboards, roasted maple necks, and then we got a little fancy with the inlays. We've got these zebra wood inlays that are encircled by brass, and then we have brass rings for the side markers, also a brass nut. We also went with a little fancy magnetic zebra wood cover on there. You can see the guts nice and fully shielded. It's a really clean setup. Alembic sends you everything with quick connect, so it's a really no fuss, no muss when you set these things up. Other than that, it's a really straight ahead instrument. We just kind of wanted to add a few fancy touches for it in keeping with the Alembic spirit. I'm gonna go ahead and coin this term right now. These basses have a luscious, beautiful tone. That's right. Luscious. And, not to beat the Grateful Dead thing to the ground, but these basses really do have that magic in them as soon as you plug it in. That, despite the construction of it being a Serek bass, the sound is really baked into these pickups and this preamp here. We also strung this bass up with GHS bright flats, which are a ground wound string, so kind of halfway between rounds and flats, and these are actually the strings that Mike Gordon uses on his bass, so we've got you covered, you fish heads out there. I'm just really excited to show these to you. I've been waiting for a really long time to unveil these. They will be up on our web shop shortly, and I hope to offer more of these in the future. I don't think the Metropolis is going to be custom orderable, but I feel like I'm going to kind of treat this as a catch of the day type instrument, and if we get some special woods or special pickups or anything like that in stock, they might end up in this as a platform. Without further ado, let's go ahead and hear how they sound. Of course, there are hundreds of different subtleties to this filter, so I'm really just going to give you some of the extremes. I'm going to show you what the bass sounds like with the gain added and without. Because this is a medium scale 4-string and we have a medium scale 5-string, I'm going to do all of the sonic samples on the 5-string. They sound the same, and I just want you to hear how that low B sounds as well. I should also mention that the 5-string actually has a 3-position gain switch, so there's a choice between 2 and 3. You can have 0 and 8 dB on the 2-position switch, or you can have 0, 6, and 9 on the 3-position. I'm just going to go ahead and show you the 0 dB, which is basically just stock low-pass tone knob sound, and then what it sounds like once you add that 9 dB of gain into the signal. I'm going to start by showing you the sound of the pickups just by themselves, tone all the way up, no gain added. We'll start with the bridge pickup. Now we'll do the same thing with 9 dB of gain, and we'll still start at the top. You'll hear a little bit more sparkle on top, and then I'm just going to keep it on both pickups, and I'm just going to slowly roll the tone back maybe about 10 or so % at a time, and you'll hear this kind of, hear that wah 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 sound. So here we go.